Good morning. This is Ayya Vimala. It's Thursday, May 27th. And I hope everyone enjoyed the beautiful full moon that it's a especially luminous bright moon and a bright full moon. And as you know, if you're Buddhist or if you know about Buddhism, holidays or celebrations, everything is on a lunar calendar. So very often, our Vesak, or the celebration of the Buddha's birth and enlightenment and final enlightenment at his death, those are always celebrated on the full moon in May. So special days and days when people go to the temples, it's always on a full moon or a new moon. So yesterday was the official, yesterday was the official Buddha Day, Vesak Day. And this whole month of May, there's been so much to see and to listen to, and places where you can go to see things. There were things celebrating the life of the Buddha and the enlightenment of the Buddha. So it's been a busy month. And there's a lot you can go back and see because it's been, it'll be on YouTube or recorded on Facebook pages for different groups. So try to take advantage of that. It can be very lovely to just spend, if you have an afternoon or a morning free, just to watch and listen to some of the special programs. So this morning I've been watching and listening to Robina Curtin, and she is in the Tibetan tradition, and she's Todd Nielsen had the opportunity of actually working with her when he did a lot of volunteer work with her when she was living in San Francisco at the Tibetan center where he went. And so he's always been a fan of hers, and that's caused me to even learn about her. And she does, he always recommended that I watch she does a morning thing, apparently just that's very similar to what I do, but they're much more pithy and short. So this morning I was just catching up with her little snippets, and they're wonderful. So Robina, R-O-B-I-N-A, and Curtin is C-O-U-R-T-I-N, and you can just go to her Facebook page and get those. And she's a big beautiful cardinal couple outside. Sorry, I'm trying to be mindful, but that was just right outside my door, so lovely to see. Robina is a Tibetan nun, and I think she's Australian originally, and she does these wonderful short, early morning short talks, and they're wonderful. So I recommend listening to her. And she's apparently in Santa Fe now, so that's be a lovely place to be working from, and that she's in America. So I know she travels all over the world. So I always appreciate Todd, and so thank you, Todd. If you listen to this, thank you again for telling me so many years ago about Robina. So I wanted to read something today. This is from and when I'm reading it, you can sit if you want to close your eyes and sit with your meditation. But it's from, I don't know how many of you have these. This was put together by a very important monk who's no longer alive, but he was Bhante Dhammananda, and there are a lot of wonderful things that he is responsible for in his teaching, and very well known in Sri Lanka and other Theravadan countries. But it's called Daily Buddhist Devotions. And it was always in the early days when I first began being a student of Bhante Sujata's, at any celebration we had, there would always be a table with lots of books that were the Dana books. So that was back in the days when shipping from overseas was not expensive at all. So there'd be tables of books that we could take and look at and take, and we didn't have a library. This was down in the basement. So we put them out on celebratory days when there were lots of people coming to the basement of, or maybe we would have a celebration upstairs in the church. The Unitarian church would let us use the building in addition to the basement that we had for our two times a week meditation. We would use the upstairs of the church for the event, and then have food and fellowship downstairs after the event. And there would always be a table, a big table with all of these books. And one of the first things that drew my attention were the little, and this one is in a special cover, but these little books, it's very tiny, like here's the palm of my hand. So what is it, maybe 5 by 6? And daily Buddhist devotions. And growing up, or in any of the different religions I had been in since growing up, so many, especially the Catholics and sometimes the Lutherans, had these beautiful daily devotions. And I always thought I wanted something like that for whatever spiritual path I was on. And it wasn't until I came to Buddhism that I found Dhammananda's daily Buddhist devotions. And I've had this book for several years, and probably have given away a few of the other ones that I had of the same book but with a different cover. And last night at the temple, the monks chanted and did blessings, and so I haven't been going to the live temple events, but doing things on Zoom. But the chanting is so lovely in person, and it was so good to see people and to see my brother monks. And so I just allow myself the treat of sitting in the audience and listening to their chanting. And so they had people put items in a big basket. Is this the tradition, especially around chanting events, and like we have in the winter for the New Year's blessings, and anytime there's chanting, which might happen at different special times. There'll be a big bowl, and people can put items in that they'd like to have, just that energy from the chanting just kind of permeate, and and just create a mindfulness blessing. And so I put my little Buddhist devotions book and Bhikkhu Bodhi's Noble Eightfold Path book that we're studying in the book group. I put those two small items in the basket for myself, and that made this book feel even more special to me. So I wanted to share, and this is on Buddha Nusati, Meditation on the Buddha. And it's called Recital for Self-Composure, Suitable for Meditation at Any Time. And I love that it's a recital for self-composure, that gathering ourselves together that we do when we meditate, wanting everything to come together, to be present in the moment, in the breath. So I'd just like to, it's short, just a few pages, but instead of chanting the Pali, I'd like to read the English, because the words are lovely for this. And I think it's very appropriate for the celebration of the Buddha's birth and enlightenment, and his death, and what we call final enlightenment. And I think this also explains some of how we feel about the Buddha, not as a god, but as a human being who became a supreme teacher and a wonderful example for us. And it also mentions that, there isn't any, there's nothing to join to become a Buddhist, but living by the Eightfold Path is, those qualities have to be found in any well-developed person to have a beautiful mind, or the holy ones it's called here. So I'd like to read this, and you can, if you close your eyes and let your body be at that, find composure in your body as I read, and then let that be the beginning of your meditation. So I'll read the little introduction to this, and then I'll tell you when I move to be translating the chanting verses. Meditation on the Buddha inspires confidence and inner calm. The Buddha is a crowning glory of the 10 perfections, and that's called dasa, which means 10, parami. So we sometimes call them usually at the temple, the 10 perfections, but we often talk about them as what for us we can sometimes equate with the bodhisattva vows. The Buddha is a crowning glory of the 10 perfections, which he had cultivated life after life until his final enlightenment. The paramis include dana, which is generosity, sila, moral conduct, nekkhamma, selflessness, panya, wisdom, virya, right effort, khanti, patience, satya, truthfulness, adhitthana, determination, metta, loving friendliness, and upekkha, equanimity. As a teacher by example, the Buddha radiated his infinite compassion towards all suffering living beings to lead their deluded minds to enlightenment. The Buddha has shown that the holy ones, regardless of religious persuasion, could only be found within the Eightfold Path and not outside it. With mind as a forerunner of the world, the Buddha had demonstrated by his own human effort that the holy life could be lived independent of any divine inspiration. As an embodiment of all that is virtuous, the Buddha is an embodiment of perfection for every human being to emulate. Devotees can benefit greatly when they recall the Buddha to their mind. When the mind is concentrated on the virtues of the Buddha, all mental disturbances, such as worry, anxiety, and fear of death, can disappear. So now I will read the English verses. There are just 11 very short verses to this. A virtuous disciple should practice the following fourfold protective contemplations, namely reflection on the Buddha, reflection on compassion, reflection on the loathsome nature of everything, and reflection on the nature of death. That loathsome nature of everything, remember, is the impermanence of it, the fact that it rises and only lasts for a short time. So if it's a body, it begins to decay. Number 2, an understanding disciple should contemplate on the Buddha's infinite and pervasive virtues. That the Buddha alone has destroyed all defilements, revealing an extremely pure mind that is always deserving adoration. That the Buddha has rightly realized in all their aspects matters relating to all times and has attained supreme enlightenment entirely through his own efforts. That the leader, the Buddha, is endowed with the eightfold knowledge, such as vipassana, which is insight, as extensive as the sky, and the karanas such as sila or karana, that the Buddha has rightly gone to the blissful state. He is endowed with fruitful speech. He has known the three worlds, sensual, fine material, and formless, in their entirety. That the Buddha has become supreme among all beings by his manifold qualities. He has, by various means, subdued those who should be subdued. That the Buddha is a great teacher to the entire world. He is a noble treasure of qualities such as fortune and prosperity. That the Buddha's wisdom is all-pervasive and his compassion extends to all beings. He is a benefactor unto himself and others. He is supreme in all qualities. That the Buddha elevated himself by the wisdom gained through the perfections, by preaching the doctrine in all its aspects, and elevated others through his compassion. It is impossible to visualize the Buddha even in his physical form, his rupakaya. How much more inconceivable is his dharmakaya, his spiritual body of unique wisdom. So I think that's beautiful, talking about these qualities and some of the important aspects of the Buddha as a teacher and as an embodiment of the Dhamma, of the truth, that we can take to heart, and it can comfort us, because if that's another human being, if he can overcome obstacles and develop this level of learning and living the life that he led, then it's possible for us too. And that it doesn't have to be a god. It doesn't have to be someone that we think of as supernatural or in a different realm. So that's part of the confidence the Buddha as a teacher can help us develop. And his qualities are there for us we can read his teachings and see the qualities that he teaches and the qualities that he lived. So I think this is a nice way to have an introduction even to the, a lot of these are things that are chanted, but they're often things that you can, find the topic that you might be working with and just have a chance to see these beautiful words and let them have maybe become a focus of your practice. So why don't we sit for our time that's remaining? Well, our time is not remaining, so we're out of time, but I hope you can remember that these precious words that I'm talking about also are always there to help us with worry, fear, anxiety, other disturbing emotions like anger. We remember that we're human beings, so we always experience these things. And if we have these comforting words to help us come back to ourselves and remember our own inner goodness, and remember that we have these things to help us come back to a place where we can be calm and balanced and have that stable mind. It's always possible, and we don't give up on ourselves, and we don't give up on others. So thank you. I'll see you tomorrow, and thanks for being part of my practice. Take care.